Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Rob Hernandez, with Joshua Sean.
Good evening, and thank you for tuning in from around the world. I know we have a lot of listeners from different locations, so thank you so much for joining us wherever you are. We have quite a Wednesday show planned for you, and I know that Rob and I have discussed how this show is going to work for a little while now. We had some revelations at the last minute, but we did make a promise. We're going to keep it. We are going to discuss the DAS ANC Pro, which is the claimed noise filter for ghost boxes. So we're going to go over that. We're going to go over it in as much depth as we possibly can. And then we are going to, well, Rob, what do we have following that? What else do you think we should cover?
So then I'm going to reveal a new project that I've been working on. We had some crazy breakthrough.
Yeah.
It was a holy shit moment, I should say. Sorry, I had to cuss because it's worthy of that. It's something that's mind blowing. That's all I can say. Yeah, so we'll talk about that after the DAS SB7 accessory. So we're going to break that down a little bit in detail. I posted up a video over the weekend demoing that unit, and we're going to break it down.
Yes, we're going to break it down.
I was going to break down into song, but no,
not necessary for the noise reduction accessory. Not necessary. we don't have any intro music for it. Should we jump right into that, Rob? Is that what we should knock out first?
Yeah, let's just we can just go into that. If you guys are ready for that. Yeah, I guess we can do that. But then after that, we'll kind of break down on what I'm doing, give you a little intro of the project I'm working on, things like that. But so without, I guess, further ado, I guess what we can do is we can break down the DAS
ANC Pro.
ANC Pro or ANC. It's a DAS ANC, I guess. Whatever it's called.
Right.
I have another acronym for it, but I'm not going to say it.
That's not necessary either. It's just a signal processing box. That's all it is. It means no harm to anyone. But we're gonna. I know. No, you know, you have to give respect to the SB7 Spirit box. It's really, I mean, I don't know of any other box that's been so mass produced and widely used. It's successful. People get responses from it. So no matter what you think of it, we know that it does work. We've seen it in action, and it does obviously work. So there's no harsh critiques here. We are going to do our best to explain objectively how this device works. I want to disclose that we did not take apart the control pack or where the IC is located, because this unit was going to be resold. So other than hooking it up to measurement equipment and or taking apart the control pack and possibly risk damaging the unit, damaging the warranty, we did the best we could based off of what we know and our knowledge, and we're going to pass that along to you. We could be wrong. We could be right. I think we're objectively about 99.9% right. Would you say, Rob? I mean, just based on the research we've done on it. So we're going to break that down right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're about, I would say 99.5% accurate on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, I mean, the unit already was sold. It was already shipped. It was already received by the buyer. So it's gone.
Right.
All right. So
let's bring up a picture. Remember, I sent you the two pictures. Let's bring up that first picture.
So first off, somebody's talking about your fro. You got your hair cut.
Actually, it's wet back a little bit because it's so hot. My hair, all of my hair is still here. It's actually just back out of my face. I mean, that's how, I mean, I could literally be the everyman and blend into any crowd. I mean, I could change my look instantaneously, but believe it or not, my hair is still here.
So, Josh has a Pat Riley look going on today.
Not paranormal, just my hair and some gel. Not paranormal.
No, really. Pat Riley, basketball coach.
Yes. Oh, the 80s. Oh, wow. If you can, Rob, can we pull up the first picture that I sent you? Man, it's warm. I got to get some more water real quick. Yeah, the first picture that
I cut my fan off.
Oh, that's what. Okay.
So I'm gonna die for you guys.
Thank you. That's fine. We're okay with that.
So let's see.
So while you're pulling that up, just to give a background for those that may not know, Gary Galka operates DAS, and he's created the SB7 Spirit Box, which is again very, very popular. And he created the DAS ANC PRO, which is a noise filter accessory for the radio. It comes with a speaker that is actually very loud and very clear for a Bluetooth speaker, even a wired speaker. I was actually impressed with that. It feels like it weighs a few pounds. It's got a heavy magnet. So the build quality initially, once you look at this device and hold it, you're very impressed because the casing is very sturdy. The colors are, very vibrant. From a marketing standpoint, it has the LCD screen where it shows you the waveform. It feels very professional. It looks very professional. And thank you, Rob. This is a picture of the internals, and for everything that it's doing, it looks very bare. You have the board that has the LCD screen or the readout. You have two buttons, which are your adjustments for the noise filter. And all we know about that right now, I'm going to tell you, is up and down. You can increase the noise filter, quote unquote, effectiveness, or you can reduce it. To the left, we have a 9-volt battery, which ironically powers guitar pedals, but that's beside the point. It's powered by 9-volt. A lot of these chips do require between like 5 volts, and they can go up to 12 volts, sometimes 15 volts, depending on how you use the control pack. And the control pack houses the IC, which controls the DSP or the noise reduction. And we're going to get to that in a second. But that's basically the internals of the DAS ANC PRO or Pro. Now below there, we've talked about noise gates and noise reductions in the past. And when Rob first brought this device to me and I turned it on and listened to it, on the outside, it just says noise filter with an up arrow or down arrow. And you're thinking, okay, well, what does this do? Obviously, it increases noise reduction or decreases it. But upon first listen, I noticed a lot of things that were going on, and it just wasn't that simple. Below the device there, you can see I have a noise gate example. This is a plugin from a DAW. This is from Apple Logic. And in the left category, you have, I don't know if you can see the words, it says gate and ducker with a threshold and reduction. And this essentially sets the threshold where the volume of the signal is attenuated. So you can set that volume threshold. There generally is a ducker with a noise gate. There's also a hysteresis or hysteresis, however people call it different things. And this will help reduce the chatter in the noise gate. This is a function we can talk about later. In the middle, you have attack, hold, and release. Attack is the point at which the noise gate goes from a closed position to an open position. You have the hold function, which lets you know after the signal is finished, how long the gate stays open until it begins the release, which is to the right. And the release is the point at which the gate is open and then goes to a closed state, all measured in milliseconds. You have a look ahead function, which tells the noise gate how far ahead in milliseconds to begin opening the gate. It's kind of a little cheat code. You can begin the noise gate a lot earlier. You have your band pass functions, and below there, I have a little plugin for speech enhancement, which is a denoise function or noise reduction. And there's different enhancements. You can change the order of the frequencies in which the noise is reduced. You can change the high pass frequency filter and a smoothing function. Now, this all looks like a lot. And rightly so. When you're applying noise gates or noise reduction, you have to be very precise. This device only gives you two options, up and down, with not a lot of explanation other than it increases the noise reduction. But when I was listening to this, I heard many things going on. At first, I heard noise gate, which was essentially attenuating the volumes below the threshold set. In other words, anything below a certain threshold just wasn't coming through. But at the same time, I also heard noise reduction, which is a reduction of the actual frequencies that are coming through. So it wasn't just a noise gate alone, and it just wasn't a noise reduction function alone. It seemed like a combination of the two. I also noticed with the noise gate the attack and decay, or the release, were very long, and they seemed to ramp in. It wasn't as sudden as a normal noise gate. The sound slowly ramped in and kind of swelled up and then swelled down. So it didn't seem like it was a typical noise gate that just, snap on and snap off. It wasn't instantaneous. So there were a lot of things I noticed, which at the time I told Rob, and Rob can vouch for this. I was like, there is some downward expansion going on here. And we talked about it, but at the time, that's all we knew. We listened to it, we opened it up. Everything I just told you right there is what I presumed this device to be doing. A little bit of noise reduction, a little bit of noise gate, and it somehow a little bit of hysteresis or hysteresis, people call it different things again, and a little bit of denoise. Now, Rob, can you pull up the second picture? Please.
Let me pull that up.
Okay, perfect. Now, this, in doing some research, because even though it only gave us one or two options for noise filter up, noise filter down, it seemed like within those set parameters, there was a lot going on. Again, downward expansion, upward expansion. We had the what seemed like ducking functions at times. And I remember the Analog Devices and Texas Instruments made a particular chip that accomplishes all of these things, and it's called dynamic noise reduction. Okay, let's see. Let me pull this up, Rob. I'm just catching up here. So again, this is my opinion. Again, we couldn't take apart the control pack. We didn't want to risk damaging the unit for the new buyer. This is all just my opinion. I think this device employs this chip, a variation of it, or something like it. Again, I didn't open up the control pack, but I'm pretty sure this is what is going on. And listen to the first sentence. Everything that I detected audibly with Rob, I did research later. This chip literally does everything that I heard. Okay, and this is made by Analog Devices. The SSM 2000 is an audio dual channel noise reduction IC that reduces noise through a combination of variable filtering and downward expansion in conjunction with a unique adaptive noise threshold detector. Now let's go through these one by one, and it'll explain the device. And this is what I think is going on. Sorry, it's so hot here, my throat's dry. I apologize.
Oh, you think it's hot over there? It's like 7 in here.
Yeah, no, I'm almost jerky. My skin is almost jerky, so my throat is just. I'm so sorry. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about. We just discussed there was a noise gate function. It sounded like it was also simultaneously doing noise reduction, and it was also attenuating and finding the noise floor. Now listen to this. This chip assumes that all signal levels below a pre-selected magnitude are noise, and then attenuates that noise via a voltage-controlled amplifier, VCA noise gate. This is where we get the noise gate function of the pedal. Second function, senses and rejects noise by measuring the frequency content of the audio signal and then filtering all noise that occurs above the highest audio frequency. This is a voltage-controlled filter. This is your this is your noise reduction. I'm sorry. Unbelievable. So the voltage controlled amplifier takes care of the noise gate functions of this chip. The VCF takes care of the noise reduction, which is the individual reduction of the amplitude of frequencies for the noise reduction function. So there's your noise gate and your noise reduction. Third, ability to recognize the noise floor accomplished in a patented noise threshold detector. The threshold is constantly updated, adapting to the characteristics of the input. Now, there's a little red light on this device, and the instructions tell you to increase the noise filter until the red light is solid, and it locks with the signal. This, in my opinion, is the threshold detector. It lets you know when it's recognized the noise floor and can then go forward and process your noise accordingly. This chip adapts the VCA, voltage controlled amplifier, and voltage controlled filter operation for optimal noise reduction performance. So it combines the best of the noise gate world, the best of the noise reduction world, with the detection threshold to try and give the most fidelity or clarity possible when the radio signal is coming in. It also has a mute function for full attenuation. And Rob, I think you can attest to this. When you crank the noise filter all the way up, or this function, it'll eventually completely mute the radio and you hear nothing.
Correct.
And which I believe Gary may be doing in this device. He might have hooked up some external circuitry, which can be used to additionally control the device. Again, I think this may just be the core. He could have added some other functions that I may not know about. Again, I didn't open up the control pack. But if you look at this chip, and when I hear it in action, it really lines up with exactly how this chip works. This chip is patented, so I don't know that there's too many other chips that have this function. With that all being said, I am not telling you to use or not use the device. I have my own opinion. I have my own subjective opinion. So does Rob. But I'm not here to tell you whether to use it or not use it. I just wanted to give some insight onto what's going on. You've got a noise gate function combined with a noise reduction function combined with noise attenuation detection. That's cutting out a lot of white noise. Using it in example, when Rob and I used it, for my taste, it seemed to cut out the radio altogether. It seemed to cut out the static, the noise, the radio, everything, unless a certain communication came through the threshold. But again, it may suit your needs as an ITC researcher and investigator. So I'm not one to say, but just be aware that this thing does cut out a lot of noise. You can check the video on the YouTube channel. It really cuts down the noise. And considering it has an 80 decibel control range, you can pretty much cut out everything. It's got a very wide dynamic range. So if you're going to use it, I would use it like sprinkles on a cupcake, just a little bit. Too much, you're just cutting out the radio signal.
With that type of dynamic noise reduction, it has enough power to kill this mic, and this mic is power hungry. It's just crazy.
Right. And again, Rob, we talked about this, who are we to say if someone should use this or not? And that's not, I don't want, that's not what I'm trying to insinuate. It's that it's good or bad or anything like that, because we all have our own needs and desires and the equipment that we use for research, and people are at different places in their research. So it's important to know how it works. It's important to know what exactly it's going to do. I really think if it's not this chip, it's something like this that is attenuating, again, noise reduction, noise gate, and detecting the noise floor. And that's why that little red light locks, is it's registered the baseline noise floor, and then it processes the signal from that point. It's packaged well, it's sturdy. It's a really attractive product. Is it something I would use with my boxes? No. Is it a quality product that will probably last you a long time? Yes. It seems like it's built well. So if you are interested in this device, it seems like it has a good build quality.
Yeah. So the way that, and then also, for those of you that, play a lot of music, and if you know what fade in, fade out sounds like, and what that actually does on the track. So basically what fade in, fade out does when you're playing an audio file, and let's just say you're going to play like a playlist from Spotify or Pandora or whatever, and then you do fade in, fade out. What it does is it takes the last second of the last song, or the beginning of the first of the song, the first second, it's going to fade it in. So it's going to have a slope fading it in. And then at the end of the track, it's going to do the same thing. The last second, it's going to fade it out. So with that noise gate, or that device, basically that's what it was doing. We noticed that it was cutting out the first part of the word, or the word that was coming through, and then it would fade it out. So it was kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it's, again, for a radio like the SB7, I'm glad we tried it. I'm glad we experimented with it. The videos I've seen on YouTube, and again, I'm just reporting what I saw, just being objective. A lot of people, 15-minute videos, people standing around. just kind of,
waiting for a response.
Right, shifting their weight. And maybe it's because they had the noise filter up too high. Again, I'm trying to be very objective about this, and maybe a little bit lower.
Yeah, or if the volume level was too high, it would basically kill that device. So you basically had to not only adjust the I guess the noise reduction, but you also had to turn down the volume to about 50%. Once it was at 50%, then the device would work properly. Anything over that, it would just kill the device. It was too much. It couldn't reach that threshold that it was looking for.
Exactly. And this device setting the threshold with a radio is very important. And that's why I believe the red light needs to be solid. Rob, you explained the instructions to me, and I think that is because it needed to, again, register the noise floor and process from that point.
Correct.
I don't even know that I'd call this a gate.
Instructions, but I know how a gate works.
Right.
And there has to be a certain threshold. So that's why I started, when I first took the device out and I started playing with it, I started hitting the buttons, and then I would notice once a red light went on, that's when it would start filtering properly.
Right. And it's proven at least listening to it. And again, I can stand corrected if someone were to pull out the chip and say, you were wrong, it's a different chip. I think it works like this chip, but I definitely don't think it's a gate per se. It's a cousin of a gate, which is called an expander, a downward or upward expander, which is a gate, but that swells in at a slope, usually a 1-to-2 ratio, 1-to-4 ratio. And then during the signal being heard above the attenuation or threshold point, it applies noise filter or noise reduction, reducing each individual frequency. So it's doing a lot. If that's something that you want, it does what it's marketed to do. I mean, this chip that we're looking at here, it literally does exactly what it says. And experiment with it, see if it works for you.
This little radio worked better than the SP7 did with that device. Just throwing that out there.
It did. That little random scanner, actually, it seemed to, it's possible the gain staging in that little radio was better. It had a stronger signal. It just seemed it worked with it really well, actually. I was pleasantly surprised with that radio. The SP7, I was a little less than impressed. If you turned the function of the noise filter that's on the front, if you turn that all the way up, obviously it basically muted the radio and everything. You couldn't hear anything. But
right.
At lower settings, that I could see how someone would want to use it with their SP7. I mean, and at least experiment with it. Again, if I had an SP7, would I get something like this? No, but that doesn't mean that's right for me. It may not be right for someone else.
Yeah. Anyway,
we can take this picture down if.
Yeah, no, I'm going to stop the share.
There we go. Okay, so yeah, again, we're going to try and do more reviews like this in the future. If everything remains constant and I continue to have access to measurement equipment as devices come out, I'll actually be able to measure it and plug it into an analog digital type device that will actually give me measurements about how exactly the device is working. But I think we're pretty close on that last one. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
But yeah, we'll continue to do product reviews and hopefully explain things the best we can and let you know if it's something that we have on the show might work for you. We don't know.
Yeah.
Very good. How are the comments? I haven't even looked at the comments. I've just been rambling.
I mean,
oh, Katie says envelopes. Yeah. Okay, so she's talking about sound processing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, check it out.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Thank you guys. Thank you, Vitrina, Kanga. Thank you for joining us. Just Jim. Yeah, thank you guys so much again for joining us and sacrificing your time being with us this evening during our dry throat spells and everything. Well, should we? What do you think we should proceed with next? I had something. I know that there's a big reveal here, but I had something I was working on with your radios, and if I don't do it first, then it's going to fall flat on its face.
All right, do that first.
Okay. So what I've been doing recently, and with Rob's mode, we talked about how the precision timing in the radio works. And once you turn the frequency up and detach it essentially from the duty cycle, we get these negative pulses. So I've had them in that mode, and I actually combined 2 of Rob's radios together in a simple mixer. It's, just 2 different channels. You mix the volumes together, and it actually seems to increase the sweep speed of the radio. So we're kind of getting an idea or sample with Rob's radio what it sounds like at a fast sweep rate. And I'll just demo that really quick. Rob, let me know if the volume is too loud. I'll just do it for like a minute.
No, just go ahead and do it.
Good.
So, my voice.
I thought that was too. Okay, so that's just a quick sample of, again, experimenting with Rob's radio, getting an idea of what a faster sweep or faster sound would be like. I've gotten some really awesome communication with it. It seems like when the radio stations are paired closer together, and they can swap almost from radios back and forth. They kind of start one sentence in one radio and then finish it on the other. So I know some other people that have had those experiences. So that's the kind of results I'm getting with this setup. It's been really fun. It's so great to use it in a mixer and to hear it through headphones. It's really a really good experience.
No, it's been crazy. The radio's come a long way. Yeah, God, there's so many things that, and Josh doesn't even have.
What don't I have?
There's a few more things that I need to do on Josh's boxes now. Now that we made some.
I thought you were going to say I don't like have character or like good taste in something. I thought you were going to attack my character.
No,
that's for another show.
For another show.
Yeah, no, I would like some modifications done in my boxes, please, as soon as possible.
Yeah, just now with the whole thing that I'm working on now, I don't even know how to describe it. God, how can I even lead into this?
It's your project, so you got to find the words for it. I had to ramble about the DAS ANC Pro, so this is your turn to ramble.
So I've had some ideas with some things that have come to mind. Been experimenting with it a little bit. But I tried a few things over the last few days. Yesterday was, I think, the most groundbreaking that what happened. Then I made overnight. Just last night I couldn't sleep because I was thinking about something. Something was telling me to make a certain change. I did, and I sent it over to Josh, and we were both like, "What the hell is this?" So basically, we're working with radio with no sound, mixed with an audio file that has no voices in it, and we're picking up communication. This is with no radio sound, no audio sound, but it's coming through. You're hearing voices. I was able to record a long recording, and it was just going crazy. Yeah, so I can play a short little video clip of what it sounds like.
Do you have it on video?
Or is it audio? No, I have a video. Well, it's an audio clip. I just made it into a video file so I could play it online.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand what you meant. Okay.
But yeah, it's crazy. So without further ado, let me go ahead and play this clip, and then we'll talk about it. I guess I can share.
Did you say the name of the project?
No. Well, it'll say it in the video.
Okay. So it's not my project. I can't do it, but you should probably say it.
No, it'll say it in the video.
Okay. It better.
Where is it? All right. So here we go.
Okay.
Me out.
Be careful.
For the rest. Stop.
So yeah, that's it. So there's no effects, there's no nothing. That's just all raw audio.
That was you sent me a file. That was new. I hadn't heard that because you had sent me a different one, I think.
That was the same one that we played earlier.
Okay, then because you've sent me a few of them since last night.
Yeah.
Okay. In that one, I heard a woman say, "Can you hear us, or are you listening?" Something that I was. Yeah. It was. I'd have to go back and listen to it a few times.
Well, yeah. It said, I'm going," and then she said, "Be careful." And then she said, "Can you hear us?" And then there was like a weird, I don't know. It was like a weird, like an instrument or something. at the kind of near the beginning. But during the audio, when I was recording the audio, when I heard it, it said, Tom, are you there? And Tom is a spirit tech. And then it said, hey guys, can you hear us? This is when Josh and I were talking, when I was playing some of the audio clip earlier. And it was kind of like, it was weird because I was doing it live and then I had Josh on the phone. So as we were talking, it was like communicating with us. It was almost like they were communicating back and forth. And then they were like, hey guys, can you hear us? And then they said they can listen. And because we were talking, it was weird. It was really strange.
And that'll be on the Pair Awakening YouTube channel, correct? So
yeah,
you can go back and listen to it and pull out the voices. Because obviously on first listen, it's new in terms of the way it sounds. You go back and then you can hear these voices once you. I did it a few times and I was really surprised what you could find, especially at multiple layers. It's things that at first glance, like a Where's Waldo book, you don't see it, and then you look again, and then you start hearing these things. Very interesting. And this is progress since 24 hours ago that I heard something completely different.
I could play what the first. Well, I would have to pull it up. I would have to. I don't even know if I kept it or if I deleted it.
You'd have to make it to a video file to play. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely different. And in the whole recordings that I've got, they've all been different. So it's crazy, and it's always different voices. It's so crazy. I don't understand how it's happening. All I know is I'm using my radio with no audio. Basically the volume's off, and then that's mixing it in with an audio file that's ultrasonic frequency.
I was going to ask you, what is the...
It's just an ultrasonic frequency. There's no voices on it. It's just an audio file. And then just combining those two. I don't know. It sounds like they're just using the FM frequency as a carrier. That's the only thing that I can think of, is it's using it as a carrier. And then they're using that audio file to that frequency on the audio file to communicate. I don't know.
Essentially, the radio is being used as a carrier, but the volume is off, or there's no, you don't hear any radio, because I don't hear any radio.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's no radio. You don't hear any radio, but there is. I mean, on that clip, if you listen back, there's like 3 voices. There's a male, a female, and then there's, I think, another male throughout that whole clip. It's crazy, and there's no music, there's no scanning, there's no nothing.
So the radio plays a function, but again, it's not the radio. You don't hear any radio, essentially. So it's you're using it differently. Well,
it's totally being used in it's just being used as a carrier,
like a converter. We talked about like an A to D converter would work. It's being used as a converter.
Exactly.
Okay.
So how it's working, I don't know. It's just something that I've using that particular audio file. I've been using it quite often during these experiments. And there's always been voices coming through, whether it's using music in the background, it's just adding that clip and adding something else as a carrier. That seems to be the combination that works.
And that's, I remember a while ago, probably when we first started the show, even, you played a clip of a female you were playing a constant frequency and she was speaking in sentences. Many of the words were very intelligible. And so that's basically the roots or the origin of where that research started. And now you're here today. And I've seen in the last 24 hours, the clips you've sent, how fast things have progressed, and how you didn't sleep and you were up tweaking things and doing all these things.
It's like I'm getting these, something's telling me what to do. In it's almost like a dream, in a dream state. So I'm just like,
It's
okay,
95 degrees in your dreams.
it doesn't make sense. And then it's just, I come in and I do it, and or try it out, and then but look at how fast it's progressed over the last 24 hours. It's been night and day difference. I mean, yes, last night's session, when I first, I was so excited. I don't know Josh's hours because he works, crazy hours. So I just was like blowing up his phone. Oh my God, check this out. And
I don't even know my work hours. So that makes two of us that are that are constantly in suspense of my work hours.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So Kevin wants me to play the audio file.
Yeah, play it. Do you have that? Do you have that in a video format? You can play it. I don't. You know what? Did you cut your mic so you could play the audio?
No. Hold on. I can. For a second. I can. Hold on 1 second. Let me play the clip.
Kanga, that's what. And Rob will speak. Rob, I want you to speak on behalf of your own project. But essentially, Kanga, the radio is being used as strictly a carrier, or as Rob and I like to use the analogy, an A to D converter, where essentially the radio is powered on, but there's no volume of that radio essentially going to this signal. And it's the way Rob has it hooked up, which through time and through the process, I know Rob will reveal. It's not. I don't want to be the spoiler here. So
you're going to hear the audio and you're going to be like, trust me, there is something playing. When you hear it, there is something playing.
This is just the audio file, correct?
Yeah, this is just audio file. So, I mean, and if anybody wants it, I can send it to them. And you will hear speakers cut on, but let me play it. Hold on. Why is Audacity opening up? Oh, here, let me I'll open it up in Audacity. That way you guys can see it is a file. Hold on.
Now, this is your cocktail of frequencies and noises and things I know you've been working on, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Mm-hmm. Bringing up all kinds of crap. Hold on. Like I was telling Josh, this thing kept on like crashing my computer. Anytime I tried to do anything with the file, the only thing it was allowing me to do, that's why Audacity is kind of freaking out right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Kang, I believe we had Robert on the show last time, and we looked it up live. I think dogs can hear up to 40 kilohertz, 40,000 hertz, which is, well above. Maybe some humans can hear 21, 22 kilohertz, maybe. Then you start approaching 24 kilohertz. No humans can really hear above that. So yeah, cats and dogs can hear sonic frequencies, and a lot of animals hear infrasound as well. A lot of animals react to earthquakes that are coming. They feel it. They're closer to the ground. They can pick up those vibrations a lot easier than we can. Now, again, Rob, this is just the audio file portion. This has nothing to do with the radio. No, this is completely separate of any involvement of the radio, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure in case there's any questions about it or what exactly this portion of the experiment is.
Dear. All right, let me bring it up.
Yeah, Kanga, who knows? A lot. I think we all have either, if you have animal, a cat that is a pet, or you have a friend that has a cat, anything like that. I've witnessed cats we all have seemingly to respond or react to something that's not in the room, or they all of a sudden feel something, static electricity, they hear something, and that's very possible. I haven't researched too much regarding what animals can respond or react to, or what their, most sensitive frequencies are, but I would imagine there is something to that. There could be. Oh, this is just torture, Rob.
I know. Sorry.
Wow.
Oh, I was going to open it up in Audacity.
Yeah, you already opened that like 4 days ago. Come on, man.
Then I'll share it.
Mm-hmm.
Share my screen.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, Kanga says my female dog reacts to someone or something I can't see or hear.
So you see, there is an audio file here.
Okay.
You guys hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, it's low frequency, so it's very naturally, it needs to be amplified more. So it's very low.
But it starts hurting your ears after, like with headphones on, it's hurting my ears.
I'm hearing low harmonic frequencies. Some different colored noises.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's all. Damn, that thing hurts my ears.
It's not that loud in my headphones.
What's that?
It's not that loud in my headphones.
Oh, no, it's loud in mine because I have it up for the broadcast. So it's loud in my ears.
Yeah, they're slower waves, so they've got to be amplified. You got to boost them a little bit.
But that's it. That's the audio file. Can you guys see the... Oh, wait. I'm not even sharing it.
Yeah, you haven't shared it yet. There we go. Something's popping up here. Nope.
Oh, window. There it is. Here it is. Share. I thought I was already sharing it.
No. We haven't seen it yet. There we go.
Sorry. I just heard it. I figured it was being shared.
Little clipping there. No big deal. Looks like the meters are a little hot. No problem.
Yeah, they're a little hot.
You ran out of headroom pretty quick, I see. Okay. Okay, yeah, well, this is the intensity level of this signal is, if I'm looking, I haven't used Audacity in a while, Rob, but it looks like this is a pretty intense. Is the waveform not showing, or is it that intense in terms of amplitude?
It's that intense.
Okay, so then that's why it's clipping. I just want to make sure you didn't like take a layer of the graph off. Okay.
No, it's clipping because of the intensity of that audio file. And that's probably why it kept on crashing.
So the lower, and I notice you're in 44.1 hertz sample rate. So right. that'll get you to about, 22 kilohertz, 24, somewhere around there. But I know you're not working with ultrasonic, so to speak. So I am hearing some harmonic frequencies, and I'm also hearing some different colored noises mixed in. I don't know your combination or your mixture, but it's a unique sound, and I'm hearing that as well. Interesting.
All right, I killed it. Oh man, that's killing my ears so bad. All right.
So how many sessions have you run? How long has this been going on?
God. With me seriously working on this, probably a week, 2 weeks, maybe.
Wow. Okay.
But I've been experimenting with this probably for the last few months. But I've been trying different frequencies, but I found the right combination.
Right. This combination seemed to work. I know for a few months, the ones you were showing me were not as, the ones initially you had were very successful. And then it seemed like it plateaued a little bit. And then this revelation in the last 24 hours, at least the files you've sent me after several times reviewing them.
Dude, and that's not even
right. And that's why we're going to put it on YouTube or on Rob's channel so it can be reviewed. If anyone is obviously interested in doing so, the audio will be there to review and to hear potentially what we're hearing as well. So, and get other people's opinion on it.
Yeah, it's I mean, with all of the recordings that I have of this, it's mind blowing. I mean, and you guys only heard a snippet of what's coming through. I didn't want to get I just wanted to give a little preview. But I'm going to be doing a hell of a lot more. I'll probably be using the audio on my Saturday night show, because that's where I do a lot of the tests, or a lot of the engineering stuff I do here in studio, and then I just start blowing up Josh's phone when something comes through or certain things are said. It's crazy. I can't explain it.
Yeah. And to answer, I believe, I'm trying to think where Kevin's comment was. Kevin, the way I'm understanding it, and I'm still talking with Rob about it, it's still, again, in the last 24 hours between everything going on in our schedules, there hasn't been a lot of time to catch up, but essentially you're right. Again, Rob, Kevin says, so the entity is using the radio carrier wave to carry information, their thoughts or something, and then using the sound source only at the radio, essentially using the sound source with the audio file Rob has provided, because there's nothing coming from the radio. That's the way I've understood it. Essentially, it's just simply being used as a, like the function of a converter or an ADD converter. It doesn't necessarily make sound. It just takes something that's analog and turns it into something else without actually projecting a sound. In the same way, I believe the radio is working here, and Rob will explain that later or further down the line, that the radio is being used in the same way. It's just being used to receive some information and convert it, not necessarily audibly, but being used in a different way to combine with the audio file to create a non-scanning option for communication. Did I sum that up right?
No, I mean, and this is kind of showing that the radio signal is just a carrier. You don't even need the radio audio to pick up communication. It's not really about that. There's more behind it. And that's what I've been experimenting with, because I have experienced that a lot. I get more communication not using a radio signal than I do a radio signal. A radio that scans, whether, doesn't matter which ghost box it is. It's just some things that I have experimented with, some things that I have experienced, just using I guess a noise generator, a white noise generator, that I'm not listening to white noise. I mean, it's just the listening to ocean sounds, or listening to plant frequencies, listening to the different frequencies. I'm always hearing voices in those frequencies. So yeah, it's crazy.
Well, and you've had experience, like I have in some way, with frequency generators or tone generators in the past. I remember there's been investigations you've been on in certain situations where you've had some type of tone generator or frequency generator. I noticed you've ran through the gamut with all the equipment. So I know that even in your history of investigating, you've used those devices. So it seems like in many ways, it's almost full circle. Is that equipment that you started with or experimented with at one time is now coming back into play with this type of communication. Again, frequency tone generation, harmonic frequency generation, harmonic distortions.
No, yeah. I mean, well, here's the thing. So, and you kind of touched on it a little bit. It's like when you're an empath, when you're a psychic, you pick up on different things, and everything is a frequency. So with that being said, this is why I think, I don't know, just something just started telling me you need to do this. And it's just things that I'm not I'm not a scientist. I don't know. I mean, who does know a lot about frequencies? We don't know, because we don't know what if there's spirit out there. What are they looking forward to use as for communication? We don't know. So, just certain things started happening. I started hearing disembodied voices. And it was always at times when something else was being played. And honestly, I probably get more communication coming through than I ever have with any ghost box I've used, even my ghost boxes. Yes, I get great communication with my boxes, but there has not been one ghost box that I have used or even been around that has generated as much communication as these type of things have done.
In terms of a non-sweeping or source audio not being audibly collected and heard through a radio.
Correct.
We're using a radio in a different way.
Right.
I have to bring up one of Katie's comments. She said, "Run a ghost box sweep off of a Danish windmill." Just the visual of that speed of that sweep. That Katie, that was I'm visualizing a sweep timed by a Danish windmill now. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's see. Plant a house, build a tree. Asked, who are they that come through the boxes?
We don't know.
That's a great question. We all have our personal experiences or opinions. I think, to be fair, the theory is there are loved ones. It's spirit, or it's our own subconscious minds, or it's interdimensional aliens. There seems to be so much evidence to point to so many different things. Could it be a party line for ITC to receive all frequencies, no matter if they're interdimensional aliens, if they're spirit, our loved ones, communication from different astral planes? I don't know. Seems like there's great evidence pointing to all of those things.
Honestly, Kevin, I think I'm getting more. I don't know. I mean, if I'm using a static, I wouldn't say it's a static. I wouldn't say no to a static. I think it's oscillating.
Yeah, the audio file is. I can hear it, and there's definitely in terms of the frequencies you're using, they're slower, so they're more audible in terms of the oscillations. But the way I'm trying to figure out what you've done, Rob, and understand it better, the way the radio is being used, I'm still not sure. Other than the best way I can describe it right now is it's being used to carry the signal, but the frequency spectrum isn't audible.
It's an oscillating frequency.
But we're not hearing the EM spectrum. It's coming in, but we're not hearing it. It's not hitting the DAC, so to speak. It's not hitting the output. I need to understand it better. It just like the last 24 hours, this has been a development, so I haven't actually gotten to dive into it.
And the funny thing is explain to them what we've been experiencing with our phones while we've been discussing this.
So Rob and I have known each other for 10 years, and more intimately since 2015, when I joined his investigation group and we started spending more time together and going on these investigations. And during all of these years, we've never had any cellular interference, cellular issues, problems connecting, calls dropped, nothing. I mean, there just hasn't been an issue. So many thousands of samples of calls and texts. And in the last 24 hours, since Rob and I have been calling each other back and forth about this, the calls are dropped instantaneously. Or it'll sound like Rob's still on the phone. He will have dropped off. He's calling back. I'm picking up the phone. We hear a number dial. We hear some weird, harmonic frequency beeps that I've never heard on a phone call. The call drops. We call each other back. I mean, this went on for the last 24 hours. The call cycle and the interaction with cell phone communication has been what I would describe as paranormal. And this normally doesn't happen to me. For all of the years I've researched EVP and conducted these experiments and used radios and swept radios, I don't have a lot of interesting things to say in terms of, doors slam or, things are moving in my house. I just don't have those stories. Those things don't happen to me. But I can say in the last 24 hours, cell phone communication has been erratic and calls have just been dropped left and right. Very unusual.
Yeah. No, Katie, I mean, I've had that same experience where it sounds like sometimes it sounds more like you're eavesdropping on a conversation than communication. It's been weird. Yeah, I've had a lot of strange things. Don't get me wrong by what I was saying. But as far as somebody, when I'm just trying to think, when a skeptic hears a ghost box, it's hard to really say, well, this is, because what are they going to say? This is just, a radio. You're just hearing radio stations. That's all they'll say.
False
and
positive.
Yeah, you're getting so many false positives. Now, can you kind of say, do you have any proof that it's not? No, there you don't, because you don't know. Yes, I mean, could it be, can it be coincidental that, some of the things that you're hearing are coming through? I mean, yes, there's a lot of things that, when a skeptic does, ask you, when they confront you, I mean, it's almost like, you know what, I don't have an answer. I mean, yes, I know that we can all, go round and round, but when it comes down to it, can we prove that it's not a radio station? No, you can't. Is it just something coincidental? No, well, there's no proof. So it's just really hard. And I even say, you know what's coming through? I couldn't explain it. I don't know. And this is when I'm using a ghost box, any ghost box. So, I mean, that's just what I think. That's why I've experimented, and that's what got me started doing something else other than just working on a sweeping radio, or anything that could be phonetic sounds, anything that could be, considered false positives. That's why I started working on something totally different. And this is what kind of got me doing this, and because of what I've been experiencing. So it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's in the files that you originally sent me in the last 24 hours. And I think in some form or fashion, they'll go up on YouTube, or we'll make them available so people can hear them. So we're not just saying these things and, you can't hear them yourself. I mean, it's important for that. The first few files, it sounded like there were, and I'm just going to say that's all I'm going to say, is they showed up. They were having an internal dialogue amongst themselves over what sounded like to me them acknowledging that Rob was doing something different. And they were testing it. And they said, "Can you hear us?" And one spirit would say, "Yes, they can hear us," like almost frustrated. And then they sent what I have received in my mini box plus AM. They send sometimes like sonar blips or some type of sine wave blip to almost test to see if you can hear it. And they'll ask you, "Did you hear it?" And so they started sending these weird frequencies saying, "Can you hear it? Can you hear us?" And what I gathered from that was they were testing this new method to see how they could work with it, how they could manipulate it. So there seemed like there was a learning curve on their end as well, or that's what I perceived in my opinion. And that was very fascinating, because it's not too often you get to hear them test things out, or at least in my personal experiences, unless it's on certain radios. And I actually got to witness that with the files you sent.
Yeah. No, exactly. It was crazy, because we were getting, like you said, a lot of things were happening. Like, can they hear us? Is this working? And they said they can hear us. Look, and then somebody said, "I'm going," and then a woman came through and said, "Be careful." And you can hear that on the clip that I just played. Yeah, it's strange. It's very, very strange. And this was like I said, this was just a little snippet of what I captured.
Oh, there's hours and hours of this. Yeah, there's a lot. Then there's a lot to review. There's going to be a lot of review.
Yeah, it's crazy. And some of the voices was just like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I'm just still mind blown. I don't know how to explain it.
Now, do you think in terms of proceeding forward with this, will you be changing your cocktail frequencies and or colored noises for your audio file, and or do you have ideas to try using different radios for their proposed carrier frequency theory? Or what do you have an idea of where you're going next with this? Or is this something that you're taking minute by minute, just as I've seen in the last 24 hours?
I mean, I'm just taking it minute by minute. Yeah, just that's all I'm going to do.
Right.
That's what I can do. I'm just going to keep on working on it and see what happens and just go from there. But I don't know.
Okay. Well, then, I think at this point, we'll post the videos or the clips you have. I know you're posting something after the show, or something will go public on the channel.
Well, I'm just going to, I just posted up the file that I played. I might
leave the show, everyone. Don't leave the show to go listen to it. Listen to it after the show.
It's a clip that I played. But I'm going to probably do some other stuff with it on, like I said, on Saturday and see what happens.
Right. Well, it could be incorporated into your sessions, because I know that you do a reverse session, you do the direct response mode session, which we've talked about several times, and now you'll have something new to experiment with in terms of this new project. Now, have you released the project name at all, or?
No, I did.
I mean,
I just called it Project Dead Air.
This is Project Dead Air.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, I'm just using, a radio, using the duty cycle sweep, just maxed out. So it's basically doing a pseudo random scanning frequencies, and I just don't have the audio, any audio coming out. But then, and not all my boxes have that setting adjusted on them. So the only boxes that do is yours, one that I built for you and one that I had. And then, and then just messing around with other frequencies and feeding them in. So, so we'll see.
Yeah, this has the frequency sweep adjustment. And then this one's for you, Katie, the duty cycle adjustment, and that's a frequency adjustment. This one resets and scans the area for the FM signals. And then you've got your line out. Just fantastic. I love this box. I don't have any of the new features, and your experiments, I expect them on my desk in the morning so I can start reviewing them and dissecting what is going on and how exactly you've created a alternate route or fork in the road from the radio into this device without having output. I'm fascinated by learning about this method you have. So I can't wait to see it on my desk in the morning, 7 a.m.
I mean, that's the only thing that I could explain there, Kevin, is, I mean, that's what Josh and I were also talking about. It's possible that that's how it does work. Not sure.
A lot of the responses, Kevin, that I heard, it has a lot to do, or it sounds like it's being generated like direct radio voice. It's sentences and just communication without the sweeping. But from what I'm understanding, and again, I'll have by the end of the week, I'll have a better idea of what's going on. It seems like it's not direct radio voice, where we're not actually using the audio of the radio, essentially as to be perceived psychoacoustically by our ears, by the ITC operator. So the output is different. It's being used differently. But the result is very much the same as a clear EVP or direct radio voice. I mean, they do have a lot in common. So maybe it's different methods to get to the same end result. Maybe this is just a different way to get to that point.
I mean, that's Ben. That's I think that's what we were talking about, kind of.
It's a fair assessment. Yeah, I mean, right, because we're not sweeping. There is no sweeping involved. So essentially, yes, that would be. I'm sure a more qualified ITC expert could answer this, but my guess would be it would be more in alignment with EVP, direct radio voice, without the radio, but with the radio, but without it. But we don't know yet. We don't know. See how confused I am? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, I mean, part of it could be psychokinetics. We don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variables that could be coming into play.
Right.
Just because, I mean, I've talked to other people offline, and they think that has a lot to do with it on what I'm experiencing. That might have a lot more to do with it than we think.
Right. The operator. Exactly.
So, yeah. So in this case, the operator. So, why is it happening a lot when I'm experimenting with things? And then I'll do stuff live with Josh, and then he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" So it's just, there's a lot of things. And I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not gonna, because I know how things go. You give out an idea and other people will run with it. So I'm being a little vague with what I'm doing because it's something that I'm working on. And this is the only project that I've even told people I'd show them how to build my radios. I don't care. That's something that I don't care about. But this project, I think I'm going to keep close to my heart. Because normally I share everything, but this is something that I feel like, I don't know, something's telling me to do it. So I have to keep it there. So I don't know.
Listen, you got to follow your intuition and your heart. I support you either way. I'm definitely curious in learning more about it and how it works, because the communication that I heard was certainly when you told me and I heard it, and then you said, "Hey, Josh, by the way, there's no radio volume or audio. The radio's not being used in a traditional way." I went, okay. I laughed at first. I was like, okay, this is a funny joke. I thought this was just, I didn't know what I was listening to. And then when you explained it, that's when I went, okay, so, I didn't quite understand it. So I hope to learn the method by which this occurs, because the communication, and again, we'll have it live for everyone on the YouTube channel. They'll listen for themselves and see if they're hearing what we're hearing.
The whole thing was, I didn't really, I wanted, kind of wanted to save it for the show, that there was no audio from the radio at all
for Saturday, right?
No, for today.
Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
But so the thing is I was like, you know what? I can't keep a secret. So I called Josh and I said, dude, I got to tell you something. And, but it was like, so I said, dude, you got to realize something. And he goes, what? There's no radio. And he goes, what are you talking about? I was like, dude, there's no radio coming through. The speaker on the radio is disconnected. So he's like, you have no volume on the radio? I said, no, just the amp. I'm just using the radio as a carrier. So I'm feeding the signals in together. And he goes, what the hell?
Yeah, and I paused in what seemed like, 4 lifetimes. Like, okay, so you've got the radio on, but we're not getting audio from the radio, but you're using it as a carrier. And it's still been the mystery. Like, Rob's like, Josh will figure it out. He knows how I'm going to do it, but he's not telling me. And this is Rob's games with me. So I'm going to figure it out. Like, I'm going to figure out exactly how it's working, but
your audio cut out.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So your audio cut out, so we didn't hear you.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Nothing I had to say was important, so just doesn't matter. Moving along. I'm actually, my cousin Rob, I told to watch the show. We use your box and the mini box for her private sessions, and I didn't have time to tell her what was going on. And she's messaging me, and what she knows about what we're working on. She goes, "Wait, there's no radio, but you're using the radio." I'm saying yes. And then she put the head explosion, like the head coming off the top, and you see the brain. Like, what? Like, I don't understand. I'm like, I don't either. Like, that's what we're gonna find out pretty soon. So very exciting though. I'm glad that I'm glad that you're continuing to work, because I know that you said you were going to stop building ghost boxes, and I know that you said you were going to proceed with something else. So I'm glad you're still applying these, this motivation and inspiration to keep going and keep experimenting with things. So it's, really awesome, man. Really awesome. You're a lot farther along than I am with my experiments with A to D converters. So, I've got some catching up to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of tired. I mean, yeah, I didn't go to sleep, or I went to bed about 1:00 last night, and then I woke up at 4.
Yeah, it's 4 hours. It's fine.
And then, yeah, I had to work today, and just in this damn heat in this room. Anyway, yeah, I killed the fan because Josh said, "Are you running an SP7 in the background?" I said, "No, that's my fan." And he said, "It sounds like an SP7." I started laughing.
Yeah, the microphone was picking it up intermittently. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. No, I don't copy, so I'm not I'm not West King.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. I'm reading the comments. I'm trying to catch up. Okay.
Or Pugster. Or Pugster 2.0.
Just Jim says, so maybe spirits just need amplification just need an amp for no communication and no radio frequency. That's possible. In terms of amplification, I know that working in a music studio, a lot of the tube guitar heads, or amplifiers that are driven with tubes. I always had some really good success with EVP, and literally that required. I don't want to name my employer, but one of the guitarists loves to use diamond. They're diamond cabinets, diamond heads, and they've got versions with tubes, or he's had some custom made, and it was always interesting turning on that cab and that head, and setting the amp to a certain level to where you could literally hear EVP coming out of the noise of the cabinet. I mean, you already had 4 12s and all these different speakers in front of you. You had all the volume and gain in the world, so there was no problem hearing EVPs come through that. That was describing my life probably 20 years ago. But yeah, amplifiers and tube amplifiers, with the thermal noise, you have your white noise, you have your stochastic resonance. So yeah, possibly an amplification would be all that you need, or an amplifier. Okay, he's clarifying. I meant for communication, no radio frequency. Yeah. I mean, I've received communication without radio frequency, just through amplifiers. It's not as consistent or as frequent, but it does happen. Kevin says, at times voices can be heard after the reverb effect or at the white noise chip. So I can see this happening too.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it happen after the reverb, to where there's audio coming through with no reverb when you have a reverb set. So yeah, I have lots of audio with that happening.
Yeah, so essentially it's just a different approach. What I find most interesting is how the radio is being used differently than it's been used before. But yeah, like a lot of people are saying, let's see, for documentation, Katie keeps saying, Rob, you must film yourself. Rob, you must video yourself. So yeah, that's pretty simple. I mean, it's just you sitting there clicking a few buttons, I guess. Yeah. I'll post some videos about that. I think Katie's calling your character in question. Below Neil, so character is in question. Huh. Okay. I'm flicking in Jess. I've just been trying to write a book for you. Oh, Mr. Poe. We had Wayne on the show. He says, I've been trying to write a book for a year. I'm still on page 5. Oh my gosh, Wayne, how many of my projects, we all have these projects that have been sitting there for years. So Rob, I'm glad you caught up on this one and didn't let it drag on. Like I've let some of my projects drag on, or Wayne apparently has got a book. He's still on page 5. That's funny. But I'm right there with you, Wayne. I got some projects that I should have finished years ago that are just sitting there. So I'm in the same boat with you, my friend. Yeah, and Kevin, that is interesting with the reverb effect. And I know that I've discussed, heavily saturated reverb on ghost boxes and how that can affect the phonetical clarity that is being perceived by the ITC operator. It's literally in the definition of reverb if you look it up. It can commingle frequencies that psychoacoustically aren't perceived very well by the operator. But it is interesting experimenting with reverb in that way, and how in the reverb trails or the tails of the reverb, that communication will populate. And I know that was very popular with Echovox and how Echovox operated with the reverb and delay. I like that program both dry and affected with reverb. But yeah, there's communication that has been seen in the tail of a reverb around 50 milliseconds, and in certain situations depending on how you're doing your research. So yeah, very good point about the reverb.
Nope, it is. And that's why I think a lot of people do like the reverb, because when they are playing around with the audio, or they're doing a session and things are coming through, and then they're not hearing that reverb in the playback. So yeah, so that's another way to validate the information that's being put through.
Right, exactly. Yeah, very good point. Just Jim says he needs to add another ghost box to his collection, but I think you already mentioned, if I'm correct, Laura, I think I read a comment saying you had 11 or 12 or so many already. So that might be sarcasm. I'm not sure. But yeah, who couldn't use another radio, right? Oh, that's cool. Well, and I think the next point, Rob, is this show we can use as an outlet to showcase what you're working on, the progression of it. Obviously, the YouTube channel will have that information. And then the Saturday shows, we talked about implementing, like you said, you're going to implement a third session or an alternate session with this, so we can everyone can try it live and hear it for themselves. And I think that'll be really interesting to go from something like reverse to direct response mode over to this new experiment that you've been working on, and almost A/B the experience. And I know that your Saturday show audience is used to that, and they know what you've done before. So this would be a good, a collective beta test, if you will, to find out this Saturday how it goes.
No, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's still, things that I'm experimenting with. So, we'll see.
Kevin says, a good question, Kevin. Do you think sweep speed impacts your new method?
You know what? We were just talking about this. Honestly, we were saying that sweep speed really doesn't really matter. I think just because of the amount of communication that would come through, even like with because like with the radio the radios that I build, when you put it in direct response mode, there's really no way to control the sweep. It's just randomly sweeping. So, and we don't know we know the frequency it's sweeping at. It's the chip is running at 450 or 400 megahertz, and then it's just randomly sweeping with no control
at its peak, right? 400, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's and there, again, there's so much more to learn about what's going on, and we don't know. This is again still new, and I'm still digesting a lot of it. A lot of it was thrown at me in the last 24 hours, so I can only speak to what Rob has told me and what I've heard. But the review has been very impressive, and like anything else, you review. You got to listen back to it to collect that information. Hey, Nora, how are you? Thank you for joining us. CJ says everybody needs to watch out because you are being manipulated by a demonic force. That's all I got to say about that, because I've been through it and I know the truth. Do you have proof of that, CJ?
And you know what I say to that? Hail Satan.
Well, no, no, but CJ, we're basically saying we don't know what's going on here. We're not proving anything. We're just experimenting. You got to have some serious proof if you're going to say something like that. Yep. And do you know anything about the Bible? I do. I was raised Presbyterian by a Jewish father and a Southern Baptist mother. I went to Catholic high schools, Catholic middle schools. I was in Sunday school. I probably know more about the Bible than you do, CJ. And what the Bible says, and what most religions around the world says, is that the afterlife and our loved ones are a lot closer than we think. So the negativity you're exuding and this information, first of all, isn't proven. And second of all, it's really inappropriate for our show. But you'll be back. You'll be back. You'll be our biggest follower.
Yeah, and just word of thought, I'm a Satanist, so.
Oh, you are?
There. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, my mom's Southern Baptist, and you guys get along. So that's crazy that my mom, who's a Southern Baptist, gets along with someone who's satanic. That's crazy. Who would have thought? See, Just Jim, funny thing is I was playing around with my ghost boxes today and randomly came across your live tonight. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome, Just Jim. Yeah, Ben, this has nothing to do with religion. This has nothing to do with religion.
Exactly.
And anything we've documented in terms of evidence is that whatever religion you celebrated here, it appears that you celebrate on the other side. If that's who we're communicating with. If. It doesn't seem like there's a dominating religion here, and it doesn't seem like there's a dominating religion there. Everyone is welcome. Everything is celebrated. So unless you've got proof of this demonic, information, again, I think I know the Bible better than you do. Then you got to come up with that proof now. Show me some proof. Again, CJ, the heaven or hell thing, I've got to see some proof.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're saying a lot of things. There's not really going to change our mind.
There's no proof of heaven or hell. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, stop you guys with the Hollywood. Stop with the entertainment. Everything's demonic. Everything's negative. Stop. This is frequency. This is science. This has nothing to do with religion. All religions are welcome and not welcome at the same time. I don't care what religion you are. No, neither does ITC. The radios don't care. It doesn't matter. So just stop with this demonic stuff. Oh my gosh. Stop.
And so a Ouija board is the same thing as a ghost box. It's all the same thing. It's a device that's used for communication. That's all there is. Plain and simple. You're trying to contact spirit using both devices. That's all there is to it. There's no different. People need to stop believing in the Hollywood crap.
Well, and that's where TV and the television is propagated now, is essentially, we've talked about this. We've talked about this with people that have been on the show. Producers need ratings. Yep. Ratings, they have to fulfill sponsors. They have contracts. So I'm not saying that they don't collect real evidence. These shows do collect real evidence. But sometimes it's exaggerated. Sometimes it's set up ahead of time, or it's set up to a point to where the people who are investigating don't know what's coming up, but the producer set up something, or there's different combinations and hybrid theories of how exactly they can get these ratings and this evidence. I'm not saying a lot of it isn't real, because things can happen. But at the same time, the obligation is to the sponsor, to the network, for the ratings, for the money. So you have to keep that in mind when you're talking about investigations. And Hollywood, what sells? The human brain is attracted to danger. The human brain is attracted to violence because that's deep in our genetic code. Back when we were cavemen, when someone was acting out of line, people paid attention to that because it was a danger. And you had to be aware of that danger. And that really hasn't left us to this day. We still look at things that are dangerous or violent as, oh, I need to pay attention to that because that might affect me in some way, or it could affect others in some way. So that's what sells. And unfortunately, it's still selling in this field. It's still selling in the paranormal and on TV. But again, it's entertainment. They have entertainment as an obligation.
All right. So with all this said, to lighten up the mood, I think we're going to have a word from one of our sponsors.
Oh, fun.
This will kind of lighten up the mood. So here we go. This is from Afterlife Productions, our sponsor for the week.
Kevin.
From the makers of the Demon Torch of Justice comes the Ghost Torch, a revolution in torch technology like no other torch on the market today. Designed especially for the ghost hunter in mind, the Ghost Torch has a whole host of bullshit features that actually attracts ghosts. Just press the all-new strobe mode and see those scary ghosts like never before. Trust me if you don't go to your dodgy ghost hunting equipment supplier today and purchase the amazing Ghost Torch today for 4 times the original price, your ghost hunting friends will call you a knob. What's different about the Ghost Torch compared to any other torch? Absolutely nothing, but it's called the Ghost Torch. What more do you want? But wait for it, if you order the Ghost Torch today, you receive not 1, but 2 ghost torches for just $99.99, or just buy a normal torch that normal people buy, but that won't impress your ghost hunting friends. If you have a ghost torch, it will make you feel like a paranormal professional and your ghost hunting friends will call you an absolute legend. But you need to order the Ghost Torch right now. This offer won't last forever. Order yours today at a dodgy ghost hunting equipment supplier near you.
All right. So that was a word from our sponsor.
I understand our sponsor has several of those that will be played apparently throughout the show and in the coming weeks. Absolute. What's the difference? Absolutely nothing. It's the way he said that. It's so great. Oh gosh.
More commercials to come within the next few weeks.
Yes, Wayne, that is the special Robin Williams limited edition. It will.
So yeah, shipping is free.
Oh, I love our sponsor.
Right?
It's only appropriate we have that sponsor for our show.
Yeah.
Keep it together. Keep it together.
God, I gotta love Sam. He's amazing.
Well, and let's just be clear. We're talking about the flashlight. And Rob, I somewhat embarrassed, but admittingly don't have a lot of investigative experience going out. And I know that the flashlight is used, and I've seen it being used on television shows. And as much as I know about audio, I'm going to play dumb for a second. I understand what's happening with the flashlight, but can you tell me its effectiveness or your experience with the flashlight on investigations and how they're used? I've seen it maybe used once, and I understand the contact was touching and not touching, and the flashlight they had was the negative terminal was unscrewed a little bit. I know there's different ways people use it, but what have you seen on your investigations? Have you used a flashlight?
No. Here's the thing. So years ago, so you have to remember when you're watching TV shows, it's for ratings, period. There's nothing paranormal about them. Like I said, I was invited by a producer from a popular show. And she contacted me because she said, I want to hire a real investigator to take my boyfriend out on a ghost hunting weekend. So she paid for my room. She bought me dinner. I met their whole, so it was me and a friend of mine. We went and showed them, how to investigate. And then I said, this is funny. You're a producer for this popular show. But you're hiring me to take you out on ghost hunt. And I said, why don't you ask one of the guys from the show? And she said, Rob, it's a TV show. And I said, so what are you saying? And she said, it's a TV show. And she was saying this to me in private. But so that's why I'm not saying the show. I'm not saying her name, but it was kind of funny. Anyway, that's that. And that was about 5 years ago.
Okay. But I know that some groups.
So on this show, they were using a flashlight. So this was back, God, years ago. And I remember an electrical engineer who was a good friend of mine. He told me, "Oh my God, did you see this crock of BS that they're doing on this TV show?" And I said, "What's that?" He said, "They're getting a flashlight, a mag flashlight, untwisting it to where it's barely making connection." And they said, "And it's coming on and off when they're communicating with spirit." And I started laughing. And he said, "Here, I'm going to show you something." So he pulled out a flashlight and did that. And it was flickering on and off. And they said, "So what's happening is, so the heat is expanding and contracting that flashlight. So it's making the light come on." And he said, "Look, so let's ask it some questions." We started asking it some questions. And yeah, it was kind of like coincidental that it was going off and on, you know, randomly. Or sometimes it was like, wow, it just answered your question, 3 of them in a row. And he was like, "Rob, it's just a coincidence. You can't, don't take it serious." And I said, "No, I'm not taking it serious. I said, yeah, now I could see why somebody would say, it works." And yeah, I mean, it's just like an ovulus. When you're using an ovulus and then it says, you hear a bang and it says bang, an ovulus is just a word generator, basically. And if you get that, which would be maybe 1 out of 1,000 responses on an ovulus, I mean, let's just be real. Then, anyway.
Another device I've only seen in operation once of the ovulus systems, and I wasn't around when the group was exactly using it. I was again monitoring audio. I got to stay behind as usual. Anyway, they had the ovulus out, and I didn't remember them coming back and reporting that they had any type of major advancements with the ovulus. I've heard a lot of people have great success with it. Again, I've seen that it's a word generator, but I personally can't speak to its effectiveness. But I know, Rob, you've told me, and several other people that know a lot about this technology, or ghost box builders have said, it's hit and miss. That's kind of what I've heard with the ovulus, but I don't know.
Yeah, and because ovulus, the way that it's designed is, or it's supposedly designed to work, is when there's an EV or an EMI or EMF spike, they can use their energy to generate a word for it to come out. And
so essentially a conversion process where they're reaching into a digital circuit with digitally stored algorithms or zeros and ones, and picking that combination of zeros and ones to select that word.
Exactly.
Okay. I've only seen it in use very shortly, and I can't comment on it, but I'm listening to you and other people tell me so. Okay. Kevin says, "I was on 2 episodes of Paranormal Survivor." Oh, very, very cool. "And I refused to say something I didn't agree with. And they also left out the best stuff I got." Okay. Yeah. And that's difficult, Kevin, because I obviously haven't been on these shows. You have. So you've seen firsthand. They asked you to say something that maybe you didn't agree with, or maybe that your research or evidence was contradictory to. And upstanding moral code, you're like, I can't say that. It's not right, or it's fabricated. And I commend you for that, because that can be difficult. It's a tough situation to be in, especially when there's producers and you're on a show and they're saying, "No, you have to do this," or, you have to say this. So Mr. Poe says, "How would Doc Holliday from 1881 know how to manipulate a digital circuit in an ovulus?" Fantastic question. I can't answer that. Is it, and I'm just throwing this out there, this is just just for fun imagination, but is it possible, because everything in our real world is analog, is it possible that they're reaching us via analog information and somehow are taught by others how to do it? Is it in intuition? Some say when we cross over, we garner a larger perspective or knowledge of the universe. Certain things make sense. And there's that kind of unspoken rule where you can't know it while you're alive on Earth, but when you cross over, there's things you come to your memory or come back to you. Again, theories. I don't know. It's a fantastic question.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just a lot of, it's just crazy. Yeah, I mean, there was another show that was at La Purísima Mission, just because I know a docent there. We're really good friends. So when they were there during an episode filming, they captured an apparition of a soldier in uniform. So during that filming of the show, the male docents were dressed up as soldiers because they were going to do some reenactments for the show. So they were dressed in uniform. And towards the end of the night of the filming, one night, one of the docents, I'm not going to say his name, but was walking across the field, and they had a FLIR and they pointed it at him, and they used that on the show saying, look, we captured a soldier, blah, blah, blah. And the docent that was there with the crew, they were like, no, that's so-and-so. And they said, oh, we thought, and then he walked up and they said, oh, we thought you were a ghost, blah, blah, blah. And they started laughing, but they ended up using it on the show anyway. And they said it was an apparition walking across, and they captured that. And I was just like, are you kidding me right now? But anyway, there is, because of certain things that they did, it was that and one other incident that they did that they were banned from La Purísima Mission. So.
Okay. Yeah. And that would, I mean, that certainly has to be banned. I'm sure there's other things that would get you banned. And, that's, yeah. With so much evidence that can be captured, with so much evidence that is, as we know, if you're listening to this show, you've captured your own genuine evidence, and you probably ask yourself the same thing. Why do you have to fake it? Why do you have to fake it? And obviously for entertainment purposes, and someone made a comment earlier, there's, we need entertainment. And I'm not saying these shows are bad, because a lot of them are entertaining. And I love the production value and the cut scenes and the history. There's a lot of great things to value about these types of shows, and they are entertaining. They do captivate you, and you turn off the lights and you just have fun. I mean, we're not saying there's anything wrong with these shows, but I'm sure in a tight production schedule, and I've been on the audio engineering side of a lot of these productions, not directly in a show, but there are times when teams and producers are scrunched for time and money, and they have to come up with a miracle. And sometimes I've seen those miracles be unethical choices, fabricating situations, exaggerating situations, no matter what it is, even if it's not paranormal. So that is something, and I think we're all aware of that. If you're listening to the show, you're aware of that. But again, it's not to completely criticize these shows, because a lot of them have a great entertainment value and they're fun. I mean, I still think some of these shows are fun, even though I know some of the evidence is fake or exaggerated. Some of it's real. It's fun. I don't know. I can get kind of lost in it sometimes and just have fun, so I don't know. Depends on how you want to perceive the show.
No, exactly. And you have to take it for the value of what it is. It's
Right.
entertaining.
Yeah.
It's just like any other reality TV show. They're all scripted. Even, believe it or not, even Survivor is scripted.
Sure, of course.
So, yeah. So
you have to love a lot of the people on the shows and the characters. I mean, I really like their personalities, and they're funnier. They have certain facial expressions, all this. And I don't know. I value it for that purpose, maybe because I know what's going on behind the scenes, but I do find value in some of these shows because they're, and I know they give certain people the wrong impression if they're just getting into the paranormal, but on the flip side, they're also introducing a lot of people to the paranormal. So it's a give and take, and there's a balance there. But as long as you know what the show is providing, what is actually going on, I mean, you can really value it for what it is. There are a lot of the people on the shows, their personalities are fun, or they're magnetic, and I don't know, it can be fun.
Yeah. Ben, and you just brought up a perfect point. Ask Josh what I thought of. Ask Josh. You can just ask him straight up. What I thought of ghost boxes. When I first met him, I knew he was an avid ghost box or ITC researcher. He had freaking every box that I've ever seen. I think one of the most, because I've always saw Andy's box, the SD 1000, or what was it called?
PRD 1000.
PRD 1000. I couldn't remember. The PRD 1000, and because it was just a gorgeous looking box. Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of Frank's boxes in my day. Honestly, I can't listen to one very long. It's nothing against the Frank's box. It's just too noisy for me.
Everyone has their own preference.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own preference, but so anyway, so with that being said, I mean, Josh brought over the mini box. He was like, dude, look at what I bought.
The mini box.
Like, you don't even know how much I paid for this. You don't even want to know how much I paid.
Do you know what amplifier I had to sell as I was trying to build my own personal business to get that box? Oh my gosh. When I tell you, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah. So anyway, the whole thing, go ahead and tell them.
Well, we were at the location we were investigating. This is literally one of the only investigations I've been on. It was the Garden Grove location. And we're going to get into that actually as the show goes on. The investigation I was on was, if I was on one, this was the one to be on, and Rob had me come on it. And I brought some of my radios down, and at the time I had a black box and I had the mini box AM. I brought down the Plus. I have a few of them, but I brought down the mini box Plus AM. And at the time, Rob, I think, respected me for my research and what I was doing. But when I broke out the ghost boxes, I don't know if it was a look of disgust or just you kind of got pale, like, oh God, I invited a guy who uses ghost boxes. It was almost like, what did I do? I screwed up, because you had a whole team of people. You had people coming in and out and doing things at different times. And it was a moment where I was like, oh, I don't think I should have brought this out. So I kind of scrambled for like my Sony recorder, just like, the go-to normal stuff. And I kind of was like, hey, Rob, we should try this. And you already had a plethora of experience in investigation techniques. So I felt I was intruding or not. But I know that your viewpoint at the time was, you never mocked me to my face. But I'm pretty sure in your head or behind the scenes, you were like, yeah, I thought that guy was credible, but he showed up with these broken radios. And that was pretty much your perspective of the ghost box at that time. And that was probably 2015, 2014, I think.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. So
just because anytime somebody would run a ghost box during an investigation, it would always contaminate so much evidence. Because there was times when we were getting a lot of disembodied voices, we're getting a lot of great EVPs, things like that. And then because we would break up in groups, hey, you guys go over there, do not come, within, 100 feet of this where we are. Because we're in big locations.
Right.
Do not come within 100 feet of where we are. And there's reasons behind it, because, there's voices travel. And so if anybody's within a certain distance, especially, it's going to, and then we start hearing whispering, it's going to contaminate that evidence. And, we were doing it for clients. We were doing it for, for research, and trying to document certain things at this location. And then someone would always break out a ghost box, and it would just piss me off.
Yeah.
To no end.
I was being kind when I said that the look on your face was you were just stunned and shocked, like, oh no, not the ghost box. You were. I think you were upset, and I think you questioned why you asked me there in my role, and then I started questioning myself, and then it was this whole tailspin of confidence and like, oh my gosh, should I just go? Do I stay? Like, what do I do? But that was really the starting point of our communication, again, more intensively through the investigation and research. And then, yeah, I mean, look where we are now, 6 years later, roughly. Yeah. So,
yeah, it's been crazy.
It's been a whirlwind 6 years.
Yeah. So Amanda, here's my thing about La Purisima. It's hit and miss. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of things about the mission that are, I think, misconstrued. There are certain things there. But I think a lot of it is residual energy. And I will tell you, I had most, and if Eric is on here, he'll contest with what happened. So we were setting up. There's basically a wine cellar. And it used to be the old holding cells for prisoners. And then down at the end of the hall was a wine cellar. So we were setting up because there has been, there was reports of certain things that happened in that near that wine cellar. So we're setting up, so we were going to do a little EVP session and a couple other things that happened there. So I'm setting up the camera. There was a couple that just came out of nowhere, and they just showed up, and I was like, who are you guys? And then they're like, oh, what are you guys doing? And I said, we're investigators. We're just checking out the mission. They were like, oh, can we hang out with you guys? And I'm like, I don't care as long. And they were just like, because people walk around that mission at night, just randomly, because it's open. There's no closed gates. Anyway, so I said, yeah, just sit right there. And I was setting up a tripod with my camera on it. So I'm talking to them. I turn to set up the tripod, and all of a sudden there was a greyhound running towards me. So I've taken steps back, and it got maybe 3 feet away from me and disappeared. And I was like,
wow.
Just was like, and they said, oh my God. And I was like, did anybody see that? And they're like, what are you talking about? They said, we were watching you. Like, what the hell what scared him? Because they said you were walking back, and then the camera started falling towards me, and the guy grabbed it so it wouldn't hit the ground. And I just took like 5 steps back, and I couldn't talk for like 5 minutes. I was literally shaken up, just because it was out of the blue. It was dark, and then so I told somebody, one of the docents, hey, does anybody experience a greyhound near the wine cellar? And she started laughing. She said, why, did you experience it? And I said, yeah. And she said, what color was it? And I told her it was like a gray and white, white on the nose, but it was more gray all over. And she started laughing. She said, oh, so you saw it. Because of what I described. So she said, oh, you saw it. And I said, it scared the crap out of me. She said, oh no, it's done that to a few people. She said, did it come out of the wine cellar running? And I said, exactly. And she said, yep, you saw it. She said, it hangs around the wine cellar.
Amanda literally responded right now. She said, Rob, oh my gosh, I've heard about the greyhound. My bro lives up at La Purisima, and that's one thing he told me about. Been a couple times, and you are right. It can be hit or miss, mostly a miss. But apparently, though, there is this connection with the greyhound.
Yeah,
that's interesting. And I've heard, Rob, and I've heard from some of the people you investigate with, when there's a break on investigation, or the one I was on, locations were brought up, and what did you experience there? What did you experience there? And I remember a lot of people saying La Purisima was hit and miss. From what people have told me. Again, I have not been there, but that's interesting that the greyhound experience seems to be pretty prevalent.
Yeah, and I've caught it's some weird anomaly on the in the mission or in the chapel, in the main chapel of the main church, on the altar.
Mhm.
There was and I have it on video. It looked like it was a feather floating, because I was seeing like these little sparkles of light. It was like I was watching a light show, and I was not looking at the viewfinder of my camera, but I was looking out, and it was pitch black in there. You couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. But I'm watching it look like a light show, and I was like, "Are there fireflies in here?" But it was really dim.
I've heard, yeah.
And then I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And then so I look at my viewfinder, and I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm watching, and it looked like there was a feather floating. But I was like, why is a feather emitting light? So I looked up away from the viewfinder, and I could see light just like floating, and it was going down. I was like, what the hell? And everybody else was kind of like looking like, what is that? But I got it on the camera, and then you just see its shadow underneath it floating. Wherever it moved, there was a shadow underneath it.
Right.
And I was like, holy shit, it is emitting its own light. And then it disappeared.
Right. I don't know that you've shared that with me before. That's fascinating, because for that to emit, I mean, so much has to happen for that to emit light, debunking it or reverse engineering how that happened.
Yeah. At first I was like, why is that dust? Because to me, it looked like dust on the camera.
Right.
But when I was looking away from the camera, and then I was like, wait a minute. Why is that feather? It's like emitting its own light. So I'm watching it, and then I look back in the viewfinder, and then I see it casting a shadow on the floor through the viewfinder, and I was like, "Wow, that's emitting its own light."
Yeah. Wow. Gosh, I don't have hardly any of the experiences you have. I'm so jealous, man. I want to experience them. That's incredible. We have to go back out just a few times even. I know that you're researching and experimenting more.
So I'm supposed to go out to La Parissima, I think in Perry, if you're watching in August, you just need to let me know. You'll probably message me.
Okay, yeah. When these things happen, keep me up to date. I'll grab my backpacks and my radios, and we'll go investigate. We'll get evidence.
That's usually an overnight trip.
Yeah,
so
yeah, especially for us in terms of the drive. So,
well, not really. I mean, I've done it, but I'd rather stay and go hang out and go to breakfast the next day in Solvang or something. But we'll figure that out. So yeah, if anybody wants to go, just hit me up, and then we'll all meet up and we'll all go.
It'll be fun. Is that a product of us getting older? We're more excited about where we're eating breakfast the next morning, like how comfortable the stay is at the hotel compared to the actual location.
No, it's all about the experience.
I'm kind of excited about the mom and pop breakfast place, but okay.
Yeah.
No, that I would look forward to going out again, especially after all this research and years of being kind of cooped up the way we have been and the way I have been. I would like to get out there, and I don't know if we need insurance anymore. I'll let you handle all that stuff. I'll just show up with my equipment.
Yeah. So,
that's right, Don. I'm taking my Ghostbusters backpack, and I'm bringing that flashlight that Sam is offering us at a discount. He's our sponsor. I'm going to bring flashlights for safety. Safety first.
No, that's.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Kevin. No, that's a good. Yeah, I mean, I've experienced more disembodied voices than anything else. I just got into ghost boxes because I was getting a lot of credible evidence during certain investigations, so I started using them more and more. But me personally, I still would rather do something like what I'm working on now, and actually get a disembodied voice, because especially when there's nobody around, and then you have that credible evidence. It's to me, it's like there's nothing that compares to a disembodied voice, because that gives you the validity of what people have claimed, especially if somebody says, "Oh, we hear a woman screaming," or "We hear a woman talking," things like that. Just like in my house, I mean, there's disembodied voices all the time. So, yeah.
Right. Ben has a great Amanda, you were talking about solving. Yes, I love solving. Solving is fun. It even if you're just to learn about the history, it is such a nice place. It's beautiful there, especially in the spring and the fall. You have good taste. I like solving too. But
Exactly.
I want to get to one of Ben's comments. Can you guys explain the experience was when you realized there was something to the boxes, to the radios? And we talked about this last time, and in researching EVP, or what I was doing, and I learned from other people, again, this isn't my theory, although I can help support it, is that stochastic resonance plays a part in EVP collection. And for a decade or more, that was where I was focused, because I was in a studio, I had access to mics and amps, mixing boards, tape machines, everything. So EVP was king at that time. And I knew about the ghost box craze, and I knew about people making these boxes. And I was open-minded to it, but I really hadn't put so much of my heart into it until one moment. And I'll never forget it. And it was our mutual friend, Tim Woolworth, conducting a Mini Box Plus session on his AM Mini Box in Random Jump. And he still has the videos on ITC Voices. And it was at that moment when I saw him, and you have to play the Mini Box like an instrument. And I literally mean like a musical instrument. And he closes his eyes and meditates, and it has his hand on the sensitivity and just allows his intuition to tune in the sensitivity of this AM radio. And when I heard the communication come in, it dawned on me on that moment that the radio was just a better converter, or a better tool for creating a situation of stochastic resonance. So we could scan the EM spectrum of radio frequencies, bring in that signal, that carrier wave, and then use the thermal noise and white noise of the radio and the static as a tool to amplify those weak signals coming in. And I thought, that's it. Stochastic resonance may be playing a role in the radio. And that's when it hit me, is hearing how clear those responses came through that radio. And that was my turning point. It was at that point that I said, I'm going to spend more of my time now with the radios than EVP collection. That was my turning point. And that was probably in 2010 or 11, somewhere around there.
So yeah, like with me, I mean, my turning point was, I think, being on an investigation and just trying to give it a chance. I had Andy's box, and it was one of the
Model A, Model E.
The Model E.
Yeah, those are great boxes.
That had a spring in it to create reverb. Mm-hmm. It was an echo chamber, basically.
I love Andy's boxes. I do.
So anyway, yeah, the whole thing with that was I started getting a lot of I was getting a lot of EVPs at that time, and when I was using the ghost box in the same location, I was getting the same responses to EVP that I captured, let's say, a week or two before. So I usually go to several locations. I mean, constantly. I don't just go to one location once and then just be like, oh yeah, I investigated that place. Because honestly, you won't get anything by doing that. You have to go multiple times. I mean, spend dozens of hours. I'm saying like 48 hours minimum at a location. Same thing the last time I went to Ohio State Reformatory, I was there literally for 36 hours in a weekend.
Right. I remember you telling me that was an entire weekend, right?
Literally went to the jail, stayed there literally all day till the next morning, went home, went back to the hotel, took a shower, got something to eat, and went back. And then we didn't leave till the next the following morning at 8:00.
That's not going to affect your psychoacoustic perception of sound when you haven't slept for 24 hours.
No, literally, we're there for like 36 hours.
Right.
In a 2-weekend period. So, so anywhere that I go, I mean, Lincoln Heights Jail, I think I have over 140 hours there. So yeah, it's, I mean, months. I mean, look at how long I spent at Garden Grove, 9 months.
I was there for 6 months of it, and I didn't know how investigations work. I thought you were going overnight and that was it. You're like, all right, I'll see you in a week or two. You're come back with Eric to take baseline readings before we come back again. I'm like, wait, so how long is this project? And like 6 months later, we're still going down there. And I was like, wow, this is pretty thorough. Like this is serious data collection here. So,
yeah, no, I mean, that's how you do it. But
right.
So,
right.
So Kevin, so basically what I've learned, I never do an investigation. Well, I can't say never. If I do an investigation at night, all the lights are on. I never turn off the lights. If I do, there will be red lights everywhere illuminating the room. So I just think because there's so much that you will miss. We discussed this several times about investigating in the dark. It's the worst thing to do. Even a parapsychologist will tell you the same thing. Do not investigate in the dark. You're not going to get anything. The only reason why they do it on TV is for scare factor, for the factor.
Let's face it, how many people, we all have lives, jobs, families. How many people routinely stay up till 3 or 4 in the morning? Maybe you do. But I've seen a lot of people on investigations at 12:30 and they got 4 hours to go. They're tired and they're not focused. It's at that moment that we talk about psychoacoustics and how you perceive sound or experiences when you're tired. We all know that we hear, if you haven't slept for 24 or 48 hours, college exam project, you start hearing things. You're like, wait, someone talking to me, you start hearing voices, things start being perceived differently. So when you're investigating, you have to get a good night's sleep. You've got to be in good health or, your perceptions aren't going to be accurate. That's just how the human body works.
So, I mean, if a location doesn't have any lights at night, I'm like, you know what? Count me out. I'm gone. I'm out. Just because I've just never experienced anything I mean, I can't say I've never experienced anything in the dark because I have, but to me, I would rather invest. I've captured more apparitions during the day than I ever have at night. And I've captured quite a few. Let's just put it that way.
The investigation I was on with you, again, the only one I can speak to, we were there probably equally morning, evening, and night. I mean, there were times we spent a whole weekend there, but at the same time, I remember the mornings being active and I remember the afternoons being active. The mornings actually, as the sun was rising to the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock hour, was oddly active in that house. And again, that I didn't have any experience, but the EVP collection and the intensity of activity, what you would perceive as activity, seemed to be most intense, as the sun was rising or when the sun was in the room in the early morning.
So you have house was so freaking active. It was crazy active, but the activity would cease at night. There would be nothing. I mean, we would at night. It was totally, I mean, excuse the pun, but it was dead. I mean, nothing. We wouldn't get, and during the day, we would get a lot of weird audio anomalies. We would get a lot of different. Now, as far as the whole thing with the electrical, that house was like, it had some really bad wiring. So EMF, we could not get any baseline readings because it was just all over the place and it was always like that. So for a long time we're like, you know what though, maybe there's just a lot of things happening because there's just a lot of bad wiring. Maybe that's what's causing. And I even went up in the attic and I was like, holy crap, this place can go up in flames at any minute. Just because there was bare wire being exposed to the insulation. It was so bad. I was like, holy crap, we're in a freaking in a fire trap. But the house was gorgeous. I mean, and it was great. I mean, it was a beautiful house. But but just with all the activity that was going on and with what we were experiencing, I mean, what was there, it was just so bad. We'll get into that more, but and then like I said, all the activity happened during the day. At night, it was just like it was scary because of what we were experiencing, but you know what? Most of the activity was happening during the day.
Yeah, and I've saved all the audio. I took video with your video equipment at the time. I just had audio equipment, but I still have my audio from that investigation. I could probably, I have some, some Class A EVPs. Nothing, everyone here has captured a Class A EVP. It's nothing special, but I do have some evidence that we could show what we got from there, and some very clear, typical get out. We got some get outs in 24-bit 96 kilohertz. So it was nice and clear and loud, and I feel bad because whoever or whatever said that was trying to scare us, and we're like, oh cool, did you hear that? Like, that's so cool. So in a way, I feel like we kind of angered them a little bit, because they're like, no, you're supposed to be scared and actually get out. We're like, no, do it again. So that was a very exciting investigation. I'm so glad that was my first. For being a first investigation, that was very intense. And I think, Rob, we need to dedicate a show to it. I think it's about time to. Next time or the time after, we'll dedicate a show to it.
But the funny part was when we were chasing that little girl around, because the house was kind of like a maze. It was like there was like one hallway went this way. It went like in a it went like a circle. I mean, it was like in a rectangle. So you would each of us go down a different hall and meet back.
Right.
Oh, and then there was it was like a restaurant where the men's bathroom was here, and right next to that was a women's bathroom.
I know.
That was like the weirdest thing. So
there were two bathrooms right next. Yeah. Great.
But one bathroom had the shower, the other one had a bathtub.
Yeah, and
it was strange.
Yeah, the layout was definitely strange. So in that way, it was a very well kept house. But in terms of how it was designed, it was just odd, and how we would constantly bump into each other. We'd go off in different directions, kind of enthralled in what we were doing in terms of the research, and we'd constantly bump into each other. And
it was like, oh shit, you scared the crap out
of me. So many times. Yeah.
We'd run into, somebody else in another hall. We would walk down thinking we're walking down the hall, and then somebody else is, and then you would meet at the end of the hall, and it was like, holy shit, where did you come from?
Right.
That always happened. It was so funny.
That house needs the convex mirrors the hospitals have. In the corners, just post those big, those convex mirrors so you can see who's coming around the corner. It was one of those types of houses. But yeah, we'll get into that investigation. In fact, we still have some video from that investigation, don't we? We have video and audio, I believe.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, we took a lot of video, which was pretty interesting. And I think the owner gave us permission. I think she was okay with us discussing it, because I asked her and she said, "Yeah, no, you can use it." So yeah, it'd be a good investigation to show.
Yeah, I have possession on video too. So
right. Oh yes, and that's something else. Yeah,
I don't know if I could share that, but that was crazy.
It was a moment I said, "What did you do? Why did you bring me to this? Like, what is going on?"
Well, the whole thing was here's kind of a crazy part. Just sneak peek was during the possession, we had the Echo Vox running, and the Echo Vox was repeating every single thing that was happening at that particular moment in time.
We've got
and we've got that on audio, I think, or video, or both.
Both. The video cut out at one point. It almost purposefully cut out, but it did capture the majority of the most intense events. And yeah, Echo Vox came in very strong, and the communication came in. Whatever the communication was like almost a play-by-play. Almost like imagine an evil John Madden calling a play-by-play of what was going on in the room at the time, and who was going to get nauseous or who was going to get sick, and it would call it out, and then something would happen. Just nothing I've ever seen in my life or experienced before or after. I haven't experienced anything like that. So yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yep. Yeah, but the whole thing was, it wasn't the mic picking up. on that. It was yes, we know it has a mic to circulate that, but it was being very, and that time when it was giving us play by play, it was very chaotic. So we were I was trying to hold somebody up and carry them out because they were being possessed, and Josh was just freaking out because of what was happening, and he was filming, and I was yelling at him, do not stop filming. That's all I kept on saying, do not stop filming. But the Echo Vox was like saying possessed, screaming. Her eyes are rolling back. It was like just being very descriptive of what was happening.
There was a phrase that said make you sick, and she started feeling nauseous. I mean, it wasn't any of us that said make you sick. It came out of the Echo Box, and then she felt symptoms moments later even.
Yeah.
I just, and you were screaming at me like, don't stop filming, don't stop filming. And I'm like, oh my God, I miss my studio with my cappuccino maker in the other room, and I can sit down and just do my research. What did you bring me to? And there's this screaming and chaos, and like it was intense, and it's certainly unlike anything I have experienced before. So yeah, we'll get Rob. I know it's been years, but we've got the video. I have the audio. It's on my hard drive. I'm looking at the hard drive I have it on. So maybe we should. I don't know if we should release that as a YouTube doc. Maybe, you know what, Rob? Maybe we should make a documentary from that location, because we have a lot of evidence from that.
I mean, I'm telling you, with the
we need Matt Jackson to make a documentary for us. He is so good at that stuff. Like we should give him the evidence and pay him and see if he'll do one for us.
The whole thing with the crows, so much crap. I mean, all the stuff that happened with the crows, just everything.
Yeah,
there's so much. I mean, that's going to be a show in itself.
Yeah, and we got to find a way to present it. So I don't know if we release it as a YouTube video or documentary, or produce it or show it live on our show and we just sit here and let people watch. I don't know how we do that, but we got to figure something out with that. It's my only investigation, Rob. I got to show it off somehow.
Yeah. So Wayne, the funny thing is, the Constantinos came up. Was it last Saturday?
Oh yeah. Oh, the last Saturday show, I believe I'm usually in the background, but I heard someone said it said Tippy, Tippy. A lot of people heard Debbie, and someone had asked previously, can the Constantinos come through, Mark, referring to Mark and Debbie. And that was their question they posed. And Rob lets people ask whatever questions they want to ask. And a lot of people heard the name or phrase Debbie come through, and a lot of relevant phrases come through pertaining to that situation. And it's documented. It's on YouTube. It's on the Saturday show.
Yeah. And then it said Debbie.
Right.
And then it said shot. It was saying that they were shot.
Yeah, and again, I think there were a few people that interpreted it differently. Some people did. The majority of people, it seemed like, interpreted it as Debbie. I heard some people say it sounded like Tippy. Again, I'm just reporting what I witnessed or what I heard. I don't know who was communicating. I can't verify.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it came through as Debbie. I heard Debbie, and I said it. Yeah, and then it said that they were shot. And before that, I think it did say Mark before that.
Okay, I may not have witnessed that. I did. I was there when I heard Debbie come through, and I went, whoa. And then people were discussing what exactly was said. I don't know if I heard Mark, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, because there were a lot of phrases that alluded to shot and death. And there was something about being saved. I could be wrong. Something about being saved or crossing over, something to do with that. Again, my memory isn't as clear, but it is documented on your YouTube channel, the entire 3-hour broadcast.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know it is. But yeah, what
Katie has, she says, I have hours recorded the night that happened in reverse speech. I did not feel comfortable sharing. I've not reviewed any of it. Feel weirdly wrong. No, Katie, that makes, perfect sense. That's interesting, though. I didn't know that you had recorded sessions when that happened, and especially with your effective equipment, reverse speech. I mean, obviously you have the equipment to do it, and you have the knowledge to do it. So I mean, at one hand, I'd be interested in terms of a research perspective what you got, but I wouldn't want to hear it, and I understand why you haven't reviewed it out of respect and just having a moral and ethical code. I'm with you with that. I get it. That's part of the reason why I usually don't try and contact people. On on purpose, I don't know, like celebrities. If I didn't know them in life, I'm not really going to bother them in death. If they come through without any of my asking or free will, that's fine. But I still feel like there's still an element of respect and being humble, and that continues on however you want to think of it. But I think we need to respect the other side, or they, or the others as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of respect involved. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if they come through, or there's evidence, or someone or something, however it works, is coming through and saying, this is Elvis, I'm just giving an example, then, you can't control that. You didn't know who was going to come through. So that's maybe by their own free will, if that's how it works. But yeah, I mean, the whole process of documenting tragic events and, like Katie said, not sharing it publicly, I think that's appropriate. I think there needs to be some respect there. Not everything needs to be glorified for the purpose of evidence, in the sense that, we don't want to lose what it means to be human and compassionate and respect other people and their privacy.
But no, that's exactly right. Yeah, it's just, I just feel like so many people, and I've witnessed it. I mean, so many people are so disrespectful during investigations.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I don't support a lot of shows, things like that, because there has been so many locations that have been disrespected, both by TV crews, and that's why they're not welcome back.
Right.
And then other people that have investigated locations because of, this show was there, that show was there. You know what? Try to be original. Try to go out and investigate that somebody else hasn't ever investigated.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised on how many locations out there that are very low key because they don't want that publicity.
Right.
But if you find out and you talk to the owner, you talk to the manager, whoever's in charge of that location, or even the homeowner, a lot of times if you keep it quiet, you earn their trust. You will be really surprised on how quick that door is open to you, and you're welcome to those locations.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like there's, I'm just going to be very general. Sometimes I'm very proper and I got the tie on, and every once in a while I let loose with my opinions. But, when you go on investigations, and I've only been on one, but from the horror stories I've heard, you get an idea of how people were raised. And you do this investigation and these teams, and there's simple things as littering issues in these properties. A lot of people are trying to preserve them and put a lot of money into them, and people are treating them like, well, we're the investigative team, we're doing you a favor, and I'm just going to make myself at home. Or, there's just sometimes there's an arrogance, and it comes down to, like Katie's mentioning, honor and respect always, not only with who or whatever phenomenon or miracles going on with the communication, but even the locations that we go to. And they, I think a lot of the experiences are the attitudes that the people bring to those locations. And it's possible, if they're disrespected by a paranormal group or person, again, I'm not singling anyone out, I'm being very general, then that investigation may not turn out as well as maybe they had hoped. If there is an element of free will, and whoever or whatever we're communicating with is aware of the disrespect of the location, then that could affect results as well. We don't know. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of different things that, there's a lot of different ways of investigating. And I've talked about the most successful way that I've ever investigated was sitting around with the homeowners or whoever and just sitting there chit-chatting for hours. You saw that.
The interview process, Rob, let me interject, please. This is important. The interview process of the women who owned the home at Garden Grove, I believe there were several telephone interviews, and in person, we went down twice and we didn't even investigate. We just interviewed her. And that was, one of the nights was 4 hours. And that following weekend, I think there was 3 hours with just Eric and I of just interview, just talking to her and her experience of the house. We didn't even bring equipment out, and we left. So that's when I realized you're running a serious ship here, serious investigation and best practices. I didn't interrupt, but that's
no. I mean, but how many times did we go there, even with a bunch of people, and we sat around in the living room talking for hours, without even investigating yet? And people are like, "Dude, when are we going to start investigating?" I said, "We are." They're like, "Wait, what?" And I said, "We are." And they're like, "What do you mean? We haven't done anything." And I said, "Yes, we have." And I said, "I have recorders going everywhere." And I said, "Let's go check them out." And we started listening to things, and we were picking up a lot of EVP. They were involved in the conversations. But so with that being said, we were trying to, so what my theory, or what I've done and what I've learned over the years, is if you make yourself look like you belong there, and you're somebody that the owner knows, they're comfortable with you, this, what I've seen and experienced is the spirit then becomes comfortable with you, and they feel like you're building like a trust with them, so they don't feel threatened. So a lot of times a lot of groups just go in and they just start scrambling everywhere. You know, 9 times out of 10 you might come out or you won't come out with anything. That one time you might come out with a few things, but depending on how it was, because it's like, how would you feel if somebody came into your home and just started ransacking your home, or feeling like you were not being respectful to their home? They're just going to be like, who are these people? And they're just going to stay out of sight, right? So the more that you start doing, the more then they feel relaxed. They start interacting more, because I feel like you belong there, not like you're an intruder.
Exactly. We teach the same thing when people come to us and they're just getting the ITC. They want to learn more about this. One of the very first things I discuss is, how, your relationship with the humans in your life here on Earth, and how you treat them with respect and compassion and love. And let's start by approaching it this way. And I know that we mix spirituality and science, meta-science, metaphysical, but at the same time, those principles seem to carry over. And I always say, when you start up a session, hey, how are you? We're talking to people that have emotions and respect and love. And I talked with Steve and Katie Holte about this. And I know in Steve's sessions, when he starts up a box, he'll say, hey, how are you? There's a sign of compassion and caring, and you usually will get a response, because that entity or that being, we want to imagine at the very least, if we don't know what's going on, let's approach it from an angle of being humble and showing respect. And before you get off the communication, whatever device you're using, hey guys, or guys, whatever you want to say, I'm going to go now, do a countdown, say, thank you very much. Just don't turn on the box and turn it off, because we do know to some extent there's some energy involved, whether it's a device, whether it's thought energy, whatever is going on from them, there's some effort, there's some attention and awareness. And so we want to respect that. And I think doing a paranormal investigation, you want to go in with the same mindset and show respect, whether it's through, your own private meditation, or just how you act around your teammates. And like Kevin or Wayne said, I believe one of them said, there's batteries left at an old location. Just don't throw your batteries everywhere and throw your trash. And
dude, at Camarillo right now, there's like this one room. There's probably like, I don't know, 5 dozen batteries laying on a bench.
Yeah, see, and that's awful. And what does that say about the investigators? Exactly. I'm not going to be as inclined to listen to an investigator that litters and has this attitude. Well, listen to the evidence I collected. Well, wait a minute. If you can't do the basics, how do I know you're following best practices when you're collecting your evidence and you're not scratching your stomach while you're holding an EVP recorder or something like that? So you can tell basically by someone acts and how the investigation is going to go. You can get a lot of those red flags ahead of time. And I've seen groups go in with kind of that lackadaisical or disrespectful attitude, and the evidence they come out with is surprisingly less than stellar. I just don't know if that's coincidental or if that's just the nature of their attitudes going into the investigation. I don't know, but there seems to be a correlation there.
So here's my thought on this, and we've have proof of this. So Ben, you're saying like other investigations can influence or drive activity. That is true, but in a sense that a location that has a lot of people coming to that location to do investigations, you have to remember people that just go from location to location to location. A lot of times they will get an attachment and not even know it. There's a particular ship. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to say which one, but there has never, ever been a child on that ship. It was a naval ship. There's never been a woman on that ship that was stationed on that ship. Recently, over the last maybe 2 years, people have been seen and capturing a little girl on EVP, and also a woman has been seen and captured on both video, EVP, and heard disembodied voices of a woman. And there's never been a woman on that ship. And the ship was a World War II ship, and it was also used during the Korean War. But it has been since decommissioned.
Okay.
So that just tells you the time period. Women weren't allowed on ships. Kids weren't allowed on ships at all.
That's
a period.
Uncomfortable, awful thought. But yeah, I understand the point you're making. That's and you have many more of these locations to debunk. I mean, I know we could spend shows and weeks on the locations you have investigated and in the evidence you've collected, contrary or contradicts popular opinion or belief. And I'm personally fascinated about them, but I know we're at the 2.5 hour mark. I don't know that you can begin talking about your investigations.
Yeah, no, we need to log off. So, well, thank you everybody for tuning in.
Let me do one thing. It'll actually recap something. Can I interrupt you really quick?
Yeah, no, go for it.
Forgotten Shadows. I think you're new with our show. First of all, thank you for clicking and taking the chance on our show. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. We talked about tonight the DAS ANC Pro, which is the noise filter or noise reduction circuit that Gary Galko has implemented with the PSB7. We talked about pros and cons, so you could hopefully see if it's right for you or maybe not right for you. We debuted, Rob, who hosts a show with me, builds ghost boxes, and I debuted 2 of them running into a mixer for a faster sweep. Rob debuted a new project. Please check it out on the Parawakening YouTube channel. It's called the Dead Air Project, and we'll have some explanations of what it is. Please check it out. Please give us your opinions. And then we talked about some morals and ethics in terms of investigating and ITC and how they relate to each other and how basically we need to be humble and show respect to anything involving this field, especially the locations we travel to. If any of those things sound interesting to you, please come back. Please come back. We have a great audience. We're a community. Please come back. Was that a good marketing pitch?
No, that was good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, we're on every Wednesday.
Wait. Forgotten Shadows, ghost boxes, as in audio scanners, as in EM frequency scanners. Ghost boxes in terms of scanning the EM spectrum of radio frequencies and detecting communication through there and using a process of what we think is stochastic resonance to amplify weak signals of communication from entities, spirit. We don't know ourselves. We're not sure. Okay, I promise, Rob. Go ahead. You got it. Close it out. I'm done.
Anyway, no, that's it. Oh, better yet, the flashlight commercial.
Oh, Sam's flashlight. Yes, and we have awesome sponsors and parodies. We like to have fun here. Sometimes we get serious. Sometimes we have fun. But please come back. We would love to see you and join the show. It would be great.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. Well, good night and thanks for watching. And we'll see you guys. Tune in on to the Saturday show at 11:45 p.m. Pacific time. All right. Well,
I am word salad, Katie. That's all I am is word salad. I'm just hot air. I promise.
All right. Well, see you guys later. Thanks for watching.